Hi, hello everyone. How are you all? Hope you are staying healthy and safe. I will introduce me first. My name is Asha. I am working as a scientist with the Plant Health and Environment Laboratory, Ministry for Primary Industries, New Zealand. My work involves mainly morphological and DNA based identification of insects, mites, and mollusks, which are detected at the border of the country. And this is mainly from imports and prior to export and during other domestic activities, and also providing technical advices. I was working in Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, before moving to New Zealand. So that's all about me. I work for New Zealand government, the country with the best biosecurity system in the world. And here I will be briefly introducing biosecurity and how it can be achieved in a country from my current work experience. I hope it will be helpful for you to understand the importance of protecting our environment. So I will start with the term biosecurity. And this is not a topic that can be discussed in minutes or hours, but my aim is to just introduce this to you and tell you how important it is for everyone. And I hope some of you might have heard this or learned this already, but for some it may be a new topic. So, biosecurity is a broad term meaning a set of measures to prevent the introduction or spread of harmful organisms. And this will help us to reduce the spread of pest and disease to people, animals, and plants caused by organisms which may or may not be able to be seen by the naked eye. Examples are virus, bacteria, or other microorganisms. Sorry that I cannot go into detail about what is a fungi and virus, though I will be using these terms in this talk. I'm sure some of you currently learning or will be learning in coming days. So in brief, anything that is brought into a country and moved around has the potential to introduce or spread harmful pest and disease. To just help you understand, I am showing some examples of pest and disease present in India. So here you can see a banana leaf dying. This is caused by a soil-borne fungus, and this was not there before. It was first reported in Australia in 80s and subsequently spread globally and is now present most parts of Asia. And this is moong dal. You might have seen this yellowing symptom. This is caused by a virus and one of the most destructive virus that affects legumes currently. And it appears as a yellow like mosaic like symptom, and this virus is spread by an insect. And this is another example of a viral disease that is called foot and mouth disease, which mainly attack farm animals. Please note that in this presentation I will be mainly focusing on pest and disease as a biological threat on plant ecosystem, and also you will see the definition of some of the biosecurity terms in some of the slides. So here you can read what is a pest. So showing you some more examples of pest and disease. Here you can see a papaya fruit infested. I hope you can see a white, something like a white substance. These are live insects named as papaya mealybug. And this is native to Central America and accidentally introduced to other countries by trade in plant material. And the next one, as you probably know it, it is a giant African snail and it is one of the most damaging snails in the world. And it feeds on more than 500 types of plant species. And also this is known to transmit plant damaging fungus which can cause decay or rot in fruits and as well as on bud, on palms, coconut, etc. And this also carries a roundworm that can lead to eosinophilic meningitis in humans. It is native to East Africa and became introduced to America, Asia, Europe, and other regions. This, it is a mosquito, and this is the one transmitting dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika fever. It is originally from South Africa and is now spread worldwide. And you may be wondering how all these arrived in India. You can see not all these originated there. Just like current COVID-19 disease, this pest and disease arrived through global trade and human activities. So biosecurity is the security of the country from all these unwanted organisms, and protection should start from the border of each country. Just to help you understand more, we will see how many types of pest and disease we can see on a unhealthy or dying leaf and fruit. As I already indicated, there are several unwanted organisms in our environment which you can see with eye and many you cannot, but you will be able to see some symptoms, sign, just like our human health, just like our health. Yeah. If you take an infected leaf and examine it carefully, you will find out at least one of the disease causing agents on its upper and lower surface. These all caused by insects or other microorganisms, sometimes by abiotic factors like light, temperature, water. Here you can see silvering, chewing damage by insect, then it is by scab, sooty mold, chlorosis, leaf mining, this by insects, leaf galls, and discoloration, holes. Yeah, and here this tomato image shows disease signs and symptoms that appear commonly on tomatoes. This rot or decay caused by fungal or bacterial pathogens and leads to fungal growth. And these are the spots and lesions we commonly see. These are also caused by fungal or bacterial infection. I know this we see often, but we often cut it off and use the rest of the part. And this deformation on tomato caused by abiotic or biotic factors, where this deformed or cracked areas have wounds, and often it will be attracted by other disease causing agents. What are the other unwanted organisms? Here are a few of them we live with them every day: mosquitoes, cockroach, rats, and mice. In saying this, along with these harmful organisms, we should also realize that we have loads of beneficial organisms in nature. Example, honeybees and silkworms. So please don't think all insects or other organisms are not required. Since my topic is biosecurity, I am highlighting only organisms that can cause damage and disease to our environment. I hope you all understood what is unwanted organism or a biological threat in our environment. And the current situation is a very good example of the biological threat the entire world is facing and how we are responding to it. Next, we will see how these new pests and disease get into a country. So one of the main pathway is by air, that is through people movement, mail, and other importing goods. And another important pathway is by sea containers. So these large ships and vessels can carry contamination in the form of live or dead organisms, and then plant materials and seeds. Even the soil or dirt on them can carry microorganisms or seeds, and a small seed could allow new unwanted weeds into a country. So those organisms which is intentionally or accidentally introduced as a result of human activity is called exotic organisms. That is for organism not native to a country. So far I told you what are the unwanted organisms or biological threats, how it is arriving into a country. Next, how a country or our environment can be protected. I can explain this to you by bringing your attention to New Zealand, where I live currently. A few word about words about New Zealand. It is well known for protecting the country from unwanted organisms. Being a small country with 5 million people, this country has very strict biosecurity system in place. New Zealand economy is mainly based on export of high quality agriculture products and on tourism. Also, New Zealand is fortunate that its border can be controlled as it is surrounded by water. This, along with the strict biosecurity system, keeps many of the pest and disease causing organisms away. And this also helps New Zealand export high value crops to top markets in the world for a premium price. Moreover, New Zealand government is very keen to keep the clean green image of the country. And importantly, New Zealand biosecurity system works within a robust legislative framework to lead under Biosecurity Act 1993. That was the world's first law created in New Zealand to protect the country from introduced pests and disease. Now we will see how biosecurity system works here. It is through different activities. The first is pre-border. Pre-border is what we do before goods arriving into a country, arriving in New Zealand. That is through requirement of permits, phytosanitary certificates, import health standards, and offshore inspection. Offshore inspection means inspecting at the country of origin and through treatments at the country of origin. And border is what happens when goods arrive into the country at one of the ports. That is by inspection and treatment. Different types of treatment methods are used. For example, cold treatment and by chemicals, which is safe for human consumption. And this border activity will be explained in the next slide. Next is post border. This is for finding any unwanted organism that may have passed the border and been released into the country. That is through public help and by surveillance activities. And this response is the activity initiated if there is a find that can harm people or the environment, and it is the action of responding to the unwanted entry. Let us see how New Zealand biosecurity system works at the point of entry or border. That is, once the imported goods or people have arrived at the border. Hope you noted down the term what is a border. And in case of importing goods, it is the second check after offshore inspection that was inspected at the country of origin, which was in the previous slide. All imports and people at the border are checked to find out if they are carrying any pest or disease. Biosecurity inspectors are employed at the border or entrance to the country who manage risk from people, plane, vessels, and all goods coming into the country. If there is any unwanted organism that is a risk to the country, either it will be destroyed or it will be treated in a way that is safe to human health. Once it is found, it will be sent to the laboratory for identification by experts. All the imports will be on hold until the organism have been identified and a decision has been made. Here we have various screening measures at international ports of entry. For example, when you arrive in the country, you will have to complete a arrival card and declare any biosecurity risk items carrying in your baggage. And $400 fine for passengers failing to declare risk goods, that is around 20,000 rupees. You may think if I don't declare how they can find it. New Zealand has trained detector dogs to find the items that could be a biosecurity risk, and also X-ray machines at every point of entry for scanning all baggage or goods. All imported machinery and used cars are inspected. Every vessel or large ship with containers visiting New Zealand is required to meet the strict biosecurity requirements. If any harmful organism is found, goods must either be destroyed or treated in a safe way for the goods and human health. In brief, whatever is brought into this country will be checked by a biosecurity officer and actioned further if required. This way, we have intercepted, or I can say, we found giant African snail Hope you remember what is giant African snail, which I showed in the initial slide. That was more than 40 times at the border inspection since 2004 from South America, Northern Europe, Eastern Asia, and Oceania. Likewise, several other important risk organisms are detecting every day. Next is post-border activities. That is, once the goods have crossed the border, surveillance programs are used to check or monitor for any exotic organism that have entered the country. Exotic means that is not present in our country, that is of foreign origin. Two types of surveillance programs are employed here. One is targeted surveillance programs for monitoring non-exotic organisms that are highly likely to enter New Zealand, and second one is passive surveillance program. Here is an example of targeted surveillance program. Hope you might have seen fruit flies. Are you? These are small flies causing damage to most of the fruits and vegetables. Fruit flies are very damaging, and New Zealand is fortunate to be free of this pest. These are considered the world's worst fruit crop pest because its larvae make fruit not fit to eat and reduce the fruit quality for export. And this is by setting up several thousands of traps across the country and checking or inspecting each flies or organism from every trap. You can see in the image a trap hanged on a tree. To trap, pheromone traps are being used. That is a type of insect trap that use chemicals secreted by body which act like hormones known as pheromones. It functions as an attractant and various types of pheromone traps are available. Main purpose of surveillance is to ensure early detection and eradication if a fruit fly enter New Zealand. And it also provides assurance to the trading partners New Zealand is fruit fly free country to allow safe trade. Second surveillance program is passive surveillance program. In this program, all of the New Zealand people act as biosecurity officers. How it is? If they find any suspect organism, they are legally obliged to call National Free Pest and Disease call center and seek advices. If there is a need, they will be asked to send the specimen by free postal service to the laboratory for further identification and confirmation. I hope you all still there and following me. Just checking all are there or not. Next is about what we do if a risk organism happen to enter into the country. The government responds immediately to the exotic find that can harm the economy or human health. Response means reacting to any unwanted entry into a country before it becomes established. That is by a set of measures and activities to contain or hold the exotic organism and subsequently eradicate or get rid of it if possible. So this is the definition of response, and this is what readiness. New Zealand has a history of successful response and eradication programs for a number of pests and disease. So I'm just giving you two examples from many of the successful eradications. Most important one is fruit fly response. 10 times fruit flies has detected through surveillance program since 1989. I recall most recently it was in last February. A combination of eradication programs and ongoing surveillance has allowed New Zealand to remain fruit fly free country. It cost around 30 million New Zealand dollar and 19 million New Zealand dollar for the recent two findings in 2015 and 2019. And another recently completed successful eradication is a mosquito that was the southern salt marsh mosquito carrying Rose River virus to human, which was found in 1998 and followed by, I think, similar discoveries across the country. It took 12 years and 17 million New Zealand dollar to eradicate the pest. Some of the other awareness programs are smartphone applications and trained sniffer dogs for insects and other risk items, advertisements and watch out for exotic or unwanted species. Here you will see the trained detector dogs, and this is a watch out or look out notice for one of the important bug, which is called BMSP. To conclude whatever I discussed so far, I am bringing this slide again to show an overview of biosecurity process. Hope you understood that a biosecurity process starts from a country where we are importing, that is pre-border. Then the inspection at the point of entry, once the imports or anything that have reached a country. And third is the activity to monitor if any unwanted organisms have passed the border and got into the country. Early detection is very important so that we can respond quickly and eradicate the pest and disease as soon as possible. So finally, what we can achieve from a strict biosecurity system. So that's our protection and our environment. Moreover, it is important for exporting, importing, it is for our forest and people and for farmers. And here in New Zealand, the biosecurity system is supported by government, research organizations, primary industries, and trading partners. After being here for a few years, I understand that every day New Zealanders get involved in the importance of biosecurity, and that is a part of their life from school. So that's all about biosecurity process in New Zealand and how it can be achieved in a country. So if you are still active, I would like you to watch a video at the end of the presentation, only 2 minutes. Hope you will enjoy that. And I hope and wish each of you could learn some ways of keeping an eye on our environment. Wish you all become tomorrow's biosecurity champions. Thanks for listening to me. Bye.
New Zealand is the breadbasket of the world. And we can grow anything. We can do it cheaply because we've got relatively few pests, few diseases. We've been isolated all this time. We're in a perfect condition to grow the best stuff. Any threat that is undermining this ability of ours to do this, it's got to get out. Can't get in.
One small incursion, one hint of something going wrong with biosecurity in New Zealand, and our reputation can be severely dented.
Our income relies on us being able to export our primary industry, so if we don't have that anymore, your lovely lifestyle will be reduced.
Talking to kids about biosecurity and why it's important for a small country like New Zealand to have biosecurity measures in place.
It's for your exporters, it's for your importers, it's for your forest and bird people, it's for your farmers. It's basically for everyone, so it's just about being a good New Zealander.
Every part of commerce can be affected.
We're a coming up to $700 million industry. You know, all of the jobs that rely through the packhouses into the orchards, they're all the people that suffer.
There's probably nowhere else in the world that takes it so seriously as New Zealand. We are entirely dependent on good agricultural production and also on protecting our natural environment for tourism.
Very serious consequences if we don't get this right.
There are new problems evolving all the time. There's an insect called a marmorated stink bug.
Foot and mouth, heaven forbid.
No one organisation can actually deliver what's going to be required in the worst case scenario. It's all about that New Zealand ink, really.
We can't expect the MPI to manage this. This is a responsibility for all of us.
We're learning off each other as to what we can and should do going forward. We've got skin in the game and we're committing to working to improve biosecurity.
Everyday New Zealanders should get involved in the importance of biosecurity because that's part of the learning.
And that it's not just us, but it's a responsibility for all New Zealanders.
If we don't participate in the finalisation of the strategy, we can't then complain that not enough is being done.
It's not just MPI's domain to look after biosecurity. There's DOC, the Ministry for the Environment. And don't forget the regional councils, the landowners, Maori, iwi, Everybody is part of this. This is a big picture for New Zealand. We've got to be on board with that, surely.